And from Columbus, Ohio, I'm your host, Robb Dunewood.
And coming out of Philly, it's your girl, Tech Life Steph.
And out of Atlanta, this is Terrance Gaines, a.k.a. Brother Tech, a.k.a. Mr. Plumber. Home ownership is, I don't know what part of the American dream that was, but
it's ghetto.
They need to rewrite the American dream because home ownership. Look, people be mad because the rent, I get it. Rent is high, $3,000 for anywhere to live in anything. But it's like, sometimes I'll be like, I'll pay the $3,000 to rent if that means I don't have to stick my hand in the toilet to fix it.
Listen, I had a gas leak. What's today? Monday, Saturday. Ooh. I smelled gas, and I was like, and so the gas company came out. They found it, but they had to cut my gas off. And then they had to lock the box and everything, and they were like, we can't cut it back on until you get it fixed. So I called the 24-hour emergency plumber Saturday, but he wasn't available until Sunday. So, thankfully it didn't get that cold Saturday night. I mean, it was chilly, but it wasn't freezing. So we didn't have heat, hot water, gas for the stove, Saturday into Sunday. Then he was able to come out Sunday, fix it, and then the gas company had to come back out to turn the gas back on and relight the pilot on the water heater. But yeah, home ownership is ghetto.
Fortunately for me, I don't have no problems going on, but I just need to replace my hot water heater because it's just old. It's like I think it's like rated for 12 years, and it's probably like 17 years old. Listen. And you just don't want, I don't want to have 60 gallons of water just flooding into, the rest of the basement. So,
which also happened to me at one point. And I own a duplex. I live in a duplex, so I'm an owner occupant. So anything I do, I got to do for my tenant. Like it's a lot. It's a lot.
Well, folks, with that being said, sounds like we all got bills. So one of the things you can do
right.
to help us out, because we go make it personal this week, is that you can become a patron by heading over to thetechjawn.com/Patreon. That is thetechjawn.com/Patreon. Over there, we've got multiple tiers, any one of which gets you access to our live stream and after party. And we'll be doing about a half hour after show after the show. And then you can listen to the live stream and send comments and all that kind of good stuff. And it just helps us bring this tech to you the way that we bring it to you every single week. So once again, head over to thetechjawn.com/Patreon if you would like to support this show.
FYI, best segue ever. That was inspired, Rob. That was inspired.
So y'all, I was just looking for some tech stories and stuff like that, and it seems like we're in a bizarre world to where we're like living in dog years right now. The time seems like it is just flying by with so much stuff, but it's only been a couple months since we've been under this current administration. And one of the things that happened when the current administration came in, one of the very first things that happened was that the president decided that the law that banned TikTok, I ain't really feeling that, so I'm gonna go ahead and set it aside. And I think he gave a 75-day window that's supposed to come up early next month. So about a month from now, I think it's April 4th. But according to various reports, we are nowhere near a resolution to this thing. So it's kind of like, what are we doing? We don't even know who is heading things up. There's, some people are saying that it's the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bensent. Some folks are saying that it's JD Vance this in charge. We don't know who's in charge. We don't know what they're doing. Beijing they've been tight-lipped on this. They're not saying nothing right now.
They don't have to. All they got to do is sit back and watch us make a mess of the entire thing. I mean, like, this TikTok situation, I think, is going the way the entire country is going right now, which is to say, to hell in a handbasket, for all intents and purposes. But yeah, it's just, and it was reported today, actually, on Reuters that President Donald Trump said on Sunday that his administration was in touch with 4 different groups about the sale of Chinese-owned social media platform TikTok, and that all options were good.
Here's the thing with that. You could tell me till you're blue in the face that you are in touch with 4 groups that want to buy your house, but if we're not in contact with you who owns the house, what good does having these 4 people that says, "Oh, I'd like to go buy this house that Stephanie ain't selling"?
Until you get to escrow, ain't nothing happening. So it's just like whatever.
And I'm surprised, or I don't know what. Again, I've said this before. I'll say it again. I'm trying not to sound like a broken record. Like Rob said, they can have all the good ideas and good proposals and talk to all these people. But same analogy. I don't have to repeat it. If I don't want to sell the house, I ain't selling the house, and it don't matter what good of a deal it is. It could be $200 million, $1 billion over what I'm asking. If I don't want to sell the house, and more importantly, if I don't want to sell the house to you, I'm not selling the house to you. And so I don't understand this whole. Well, I mean, I get it. Trump is trying to seem like he's saving TikTok by doing this extension and air quotes, talking to all these people. But I mean, if the Senate says they have to 100% divest, and ByteDance, Beijing, whomever, don't want to split up the company, or just give up the United States or US version of it, and they say no, we at square one. And then now they have to actually decide, do they want to repeal the whole law? And if they repeal the whole entire law, then that puts egg on the face of Trump. So this is like, we're going to be in this spinning wheel,
It's
spinning
a
wheel,
game
spinning
of
wheel.
chicken. It's literally a game of chicken, and they're both trying to see who's going to blink first. And I just don't think the United States has that much of a leg to stand on in this ban part. I just don't know that you ban an app that over half the country is on and making money on, and their livelihoods are there, and everything else. I don't know that you. I mean, they're firing veterans, so I guess they don't care if cruelty ends up being the point of this whole thing. So I guess if 200 million Americans get kicked off this platform, they probably don't care that much about that. But it still seems very unlikely that even they would let that happen. So I think we are going to have to end up blinking first and change that law, roll that law back.
So I think 2 things are happening. And I've thought this for a while. I've probably said this before, but I'm going to repeat myself, if I have said it before. 2 things are happening. The first thing is that President Donald J. Trump, he believes that TikTok helped him recapture the White House. He believes that. TikTok helped me. So if Donald Trump is anything, he's transactional. I think this thing helped me and may continue to help me. Therefore, I'm going to keep it around. So I think that that's part of it. It's like, I'm the president. I can do what I want to do. I'm going to save TikTok for all the reasons, grandiose reasons that he might be saying that he's doing. I think it comes down to TikTok helped me. It may continue to help me. I'm going to keep TikTok around. This thing that I thought was bad before it helped me, I now think is great now that it has. Therefore, I'm going to keep it around. I think he really is that transactional. I think the other thing that is happening is that his handlers, because I even wrote this as like the person who on paper is the head of the federal government. I don't know that this is actually true, but the person who's technically at the top, of the person that's occupying the White House is, I want this thing to be here. I think his handlers are saying this is a case where we can test to see how far over this line we can step, because this administration, even when they were in 8 years ago, they were habitual line steppers. We're gonna total line, then we'll bring it back. We're gonna total line, then we'll bring it back. I think this is one where this law is so overwhelmingly unpopular with most Americans that the calculus is, if we can literally, without any type of power to do so legitimately, just say we're not going to enforce a law.
Ignore it.
We're just going to ignore a law. If we're just going to ignore a law until Congress changes it, or I am no longer president, we're going to see how that goes. Because it's like, okay, if we can get away with it on the TikTok, man, what about this? We don't like this law either. Can we just ignore it? Because the thing is, our government technically, supposedly, is a government of checks and balances. There is a court that is an equal and separate branch of government. There is a Congress that is an equal and separate branch of government. But if they're not going to enforce things, because I do believe this, I believe that this will go to court. Court's going to say, well, here's the law. There's nothing that has changed.
And that's the thing. They would just have to interpret that. I think I made the analogy the last time we talked about this to the fact that they're like, I think we do this all the time, right, in this country, and probably other countries do it too. But I think I alluded to the fact that there's still miscegenation laws on the books in certain states that we just look the other way from. You know what I mean? That don't stop black folk and white folk or, mixed race couples from happening and getting married. So I think this may end up just being that same kind of thing where, yeah, we know there's a law on the books, but it doesn't benefit anybody at all to enforce it. So we just won't. And we'll just continue to look the other way until 100 years from now when people are like, there's still a law on the books for that. You know what I mean? So I just think, I guess that the previous administration wanted to look like they were tough on TikTok, or I don't even know what the motivation was for getting this law passed. I just don't think anybody in Congress really knew enough about the platform and the technology behind it to even make that kind of informed decision to vote on something like this in the first place. I think you probably do need to do something, and they could be doing something for our privacy and algorithms and all that stuff that they're not doing if they would take cues from what they're doing over in Europe already. But they just wanted to feel like they was doing something, so they rushed this thing through because everybody was all in arms and in an uproar about TikTok all of a sudden, and now it's just like, oh, we didn't even need to do that in the first place. Oh wow, you know what I mean? So I think it's just going fade to black, and we'll forget that it ever happened.
Yeah, there's one senator that's saying we need to do another 270 days. But if I were a betting person,
we don't even need to do that.
If I were a betting person, I think they're probably going to we're just going to just let this slide and see what the next administration does. Or maybe once they get past 2 years in office, they'll say, hey, Congress, you really need to, your midterms are coming up. We really need you to go. Yeah, we really need you to go and, create a law and go the opposite direction of what you went just a few years ago. So it's interesting, if anything else, because on its face, what you have had is that you had a president that came in and said, you know what, that law that Congress passed, I don't like it. Therefore, it doesn't exist anymore. And usually, like I heard somebody say they actually used like the Dreamer Act. It's like, well, that's that Congress got involved in that. It wasn't just a unilateral thing. I know that you can't do these things. There's a lot of power in executive orders, but I've never heard of the executive order power where you can say, I don't like the law, because just like we're saying, I don't like this law. And Stephanie, you used the examples of, miscegenation laws. When we hear about them today, it's usually because somebody tried to see if they could get away with enforcing it and wouldn't do a marriage or something like that. And then someone had to come in and say, yeah, you're not good for this job anymore. Put somebody else in and then allow that to go through because you're making the state look really bad. But you're absolutely right. There are laws that are technically on the books that we simply just ignore. Is the TikTok ban going to become that? Or are they really trying to get a deal done? Because if I were ByteDance, if I'm ByteDance, I'm sitting here like this. It's like, so the ban happened and we said, well, we need to make some noise. So before the ban actually goes into effect, let's take TikTok down. That lasted all of what, 14, 15 hours, 16 hours or something like that. In America, it was like wrecked. So they went ahead and turned it back on. Yeah.
We don't have any leverage in this fight. You know what I mean? We have zero leverage in this country in this fight. ByteDance literally is holding all the cards. If they flip that switch again, folk gonna lose their minds. And not even just because I love TikTok and I don't want to lose TikTok. Like I said, there's people's whole livelihoods on this app. People who are influencers and are selling things and doing stuff, and literally their entire life. And we can make the case for websites and newsletters and alternate forms of digital properties, but there are people whose entire livelihoods exist on this one platform. And So losing your mind is a valid response to the possibility that TikTok might just flip that switch again. So we, with that being said, we just don't have any leverage when it comes to this battle, and we need to move on and just honestly stop talking about it, because I just don't see us doing anything that significant enough to move that needle from their perspective.
I think I'm a safe driver. You think I could just get away with
Especially if we're not going to do any. No, I was going to say, especially if they're not going to fix data protection laws.
Right.
If you ain't doing that,
then shut up.
Yeah.
Shut up about it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I like to drive fast. I'm fortunate. Let me find some wood to knock on. I don't really get tickets because I'm not ridiculous.
You're gonna get one now, just cause.
Yeah, like I'm knocking on a whole lot of wood around me. But it would be lovely to just, you know what? I don't like this law. I'm just not going to.
Well, I look at speed limits as suggestions. I mean, I don't speed a lot, but when I do, I feel like I'm justified in doing so. It's just a suggestion. You know what I mean?
So I don't think that Congress meant the TikTok ban as a suggestion, but it's showing up being treated like one right now.
Right.
But y'all, I don't know if you've looked at your 401k, if you looked at just your stock plan or anything like that, but have either of you noticed what is happening to the market?
Yo,
today,
my
last week?
Robinhood account is not looking good these days. I have noticed, and because I don't have a ton of money, but the losses have been significant enough for my eyebrow to go up. I'm like, where's my money? Like, what's happening? Where's my money going? I thought I was on a roll here, reinvesting my dividends and all that good stuff, and where's my money?
What about you, Terrance?
Yes, have noticed. My wife has also noticed. It's like, what is the threshold where we pull all our money out of the market? And I'm like, we ain't there yet. But to soothe and to answer your question, I will look into figuring out how far this thing can go. And it may, without, jumping the lead a little bit too much, maybe shareholders and maybe the stock market may be the place to where a lot of the things that this administration is doing, they're like, wait a minute. Now we don't want to we can upset veterans, we can upset federal aid workers, and we can upset government contractors, but what we can't upset is these companies and these major shareholders.
Mm-hmm.
So this stock going down may just trigger. I mean, I think we already talked about it. They on the news, they've already talked about Trump and these tariffs and him about facing on some of these tariffs that he's threatened or actually put into place. And I think it's because of the stock market was like, hey, we don't like that.
No, not at all. So I think that a lot of folks, like you're saying, a lot of big shareholders, a lot of companies, they say things like, I don't really got a problem with your oligarchic tendencies as long as you look at me as oligarch. And as long as my money is right, you do what you need to do. But my money ain't right. We about to start moving some furniture up here. That's kind of happening. So the story is that the Magnificent Seven. Now, these are the stocks that include, they're all big tech stocks. So they are NVIDIA, Tesla, Alphabet, Amazon, Meta, Apple, and Microsoft. All of these companies today have decreased at least 4%. Apple and NVIDIA have decreased over 5%, and Tesla is down today 13%. It's ridiculous. And I actually put a post out on social media earlier today.
I just pulled up my Robinhood just to see, and it's down even more. I'm like, come on, man. What? Like it was a shock.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was already significantly, and now I'm like, yo.
Yeah, it's a problem. So the NASDAQ last week moved into what we call correction. When you basically are 10% below your previous high, you're what you're in called correction territory. We've done that in like a few days on the NASDAQ. We're real close to it on the S&P. The S&P is down about 8.1, I think 8.2% at the market close today. So, but like right now, you're probably looking at those after hours number stuff. I'm not going to look because I don't want to be upset the rest of the show. But yeah, we might actually be moving towards correction in the S&P as well. So the question that I asked on social media was, I want somebody to explain to me how what we're going through right now is the last administration's fault. Because that's what literally some people are saying. This is all. This is
of course. They're always gonna.
And I'm like, explain that to me, because I guess you don't want me to believe my lying eyes when I see a president that about a week and a half ago said we're going to put 25% tariffs on our closest trade partners, and then after that the bottom falls out. So
all the way out.
Explain to me how do I ignore that so that I can actually believe the believe the cheese that you're selling me, that it's the last administration's fault. So yeah, this is crazy.
I watched the video you posted from Yahoo Finance where they were talking about what was actually happening, and a few things they claim are happening right now. They're saying that the AI spending is going to continue into next year and probably 2027 as well. They were suggesting people take whatever small profit they can now and then get back into the market once things kind of get a little bit more stable. They said AI investment was taking that cash from shareholders. I could definitely see that. They're not paying out to shareholders anymore. They're reinvesting that money back into artificial intelligence, and you're not going to get as high a growth rate. And I think that is a key point too. I think, when Nvidia stock first took a hit like 3 or 4 months ago, everybody's like, oh my God. And I'm like, there's not a whole lot of room for them to grow at this point. If you get a 0.5%, you're doing okay with a company like that. So they were saying you're not going to get that same type of high growth rate from those Magnificent Seven as you would from a tier 2 or tier 3 tech company, because they just don't have any room to grow. Those lower tier companies are still investing in AI and making bigger strides with their investments than these companies that, have already sort of maxed out basically. And I thought it was really interesting where they talked about, what the DeepSeek, how that would come into play and kind of change is it going to change the game or not? They kind of didn't think it would, but they did say that it would show, American exceptionalism in this AI space to be a fallacy, because China did it cheaper, faster, better, stronger, in 2 days, it seems like. So there was a lot of interesting information that came, out of that discussion and out of that video. And I think we're going to feel this pinch for a minute. And I say, this is not financial advice. I am not a financial planner, but I'm gonna just hold the line, and over the long term, which is how you should be evaluating your portfolio anyway. I think we'll end up fine.
And two things, right? So what you just said, Stephanie, I think that's hard for a lot of people, especially people who are in the stock market solely for the purpose of becoming a millionaire or get rich quick or generating income. There is one thing for you to be in the stock market for, all right, I want this money here for when I retire or for when I can't work anymore. This is going to be my safety net. That's one. There's another group out there. Well, I mean, there's bunches of groups, but the group that's out there is like, all right, I need to generate income now from these to the stock market. Those are we're beyond 401ks and we're beyond, IRAs. We are at the point now to where it's like, all right, I need this money to make money so I can pay my mortgage, so I can go on vacation, so I can pay for my kids' college tuition, so I can keep my mom or my dad in a nursing home. The stock market was doing that.
Right.
With this dip. Those folks are the ones that's feeling pressure right now versus us. We're kind of like, yeah, we'll ride it out for the long haul because I got 20 more years until I retire. So it's going to take a 10, 15. It may, Trump was trying everything but to say recession, right? Recession looks bad for everybody, but it really looks bad for people who can't afford to not miss any money on top of the recession, right? So you taking people's jobs, and you more things are more expensive or they're harder to get, and on top of that, I'm not generating the income in the stock market. Oh, y'all need to fix this.
Yeah.
So stock market going down may just be that trigger for this administration to slow the hell down and think this thing a little bit through more before just these snappy reactions.
Right.
Stephanie, you said a lot of things. Things you did not say were 25% tariffs with our cousins to the north,
right,
and our cousins to the south.
And they I feel like deliberately left that out of that conversation. In that video you showed, I think that was deliberate. But yeah, like and Canada was like, I don't give a whoop. Like, we taking y'all stuff off our shelves. We don't need y'all. Like, I just really think we as Americans have overplayed, well, not we, us sitting here, but America and our administration just overplayed their hand. They thought they were cowboys and having this pissing contest and just the hand got overplayed for real, like big time.
Congress people will start campaigning at the end of this year for these midterms to come up at the end of next year. So I am not wishing anything ill on anybody as far as the stock market is concerned, because there are some folks that see that serves them right. It's like, it serves who right? It's like, this hurts.
Right.
This hurts everybody.
All of us.
This hurts everybody.
Right.
Some more than others, but this hurts everybody. So I get that. But the one stock that was here that is a little different than the others is Tesla. Tesla's down 13% today. And Tesla is down.
Well, that's for other reasons.
For other reasons, we're going to get into this. So, so one of our patrons, actually one of our patrons that has been a patron literally since the beginning, Kenny Samuel. He actually posted something in our Discord earlier today, and it was a TikTok video about what is happening with Tesla right now. You literally have people around the world that are removing their Tesla hood ornaments and removing the branding of Tesla off of their Teslas and putting on like Audi hood ornaments and Toyota hood ornaments and stuff, so that people won't think that they actually have a Tesla. The other
part, do that with that Cybertruck.
Cannot do that with the Cybertruck. And you
can't do that with a Tesla, period, because Tesla's the whole point of a Tesla is it does look unique, and they are attractive. I ain't gonna front. There are some Teslas I'm like, oh, that the whatever the sedan is, the big sedan, I'm like, that you get that right configuration, it looks nice, right? So they are unique. Tesla did a good job, to Musk's credit. He did a good job of creating a sexy electric vehicle.
I only like the one with the Gulf wings. I don't like the sedan. Right. I don't like the coupes. I don't like. My sister had one for a long time, and I won't say I don't like it. I didn't think it. I wasn't impressed. Like, it wasn't enough aesthetically to make me buy one.
Comparative to these ugly American electric vehicles, Tesla did a good job.
Yeah, definitely. If you're looking at EV to EV, then yes.
So as a
Tesla,
as a result,
less plaid.
You have a unique vehicle now you don't like.
So, as I said, though, what people are doing is they are removing their and clearly you still know that it's a Tesla, but that's what folks are doing to show their disdain. In Europe, I want to say the Tesla sales are down over 70%. So this is something different.
Well, and I think people are facing attacks as well. I think, folks are throwing tomatoes and bottles at these cars. Like, people are like in some semblance of danger around driving these vehicles from the backlash from other people too. So, it may be in their best interest to change out a hood ornament, or they said the bumper sticker that says, "I bought this before I knew Elon was crazy."
Yeah.
Like, is selling like hotcakes.
Let me talk to those folks for a minute, because 2 years ago, almost universally, everybody that hates Tesla today loved it 2 years ago. And it's like, what Tesla was doing 2 years ago? They literally, in some of their plans for calling the place where they segregated all the black folks, they was calling it the daggone plantation. It's like, you ain't have a problem with Tesla then, so why you got a problem with it? So let me get off my soapbox on that, but I do want to put that out there. But the other part of this is that I have said this: I will never, and never's a long time. I have no intention in my lifetime ever buying a Tesla that is supported or that is in any way related to Elon Musk. You can call me a snowflake for saying that, but it's easy for me to say it because you know what I've never done before? I've never bought a Tesla before. And you know what it'll be easy to do? To never buy a Tesla from this point forward. I do feel that people who already own Teslas, you just say, look, I didn't know that this dude was crazy like this. I didn't know that he was going to become the emperor and do all these things in America when I bought my car 2-3 years ago. I didn't know, but I already made that purchase. Tesla already got my money. Me trying to go sell it at a loss today is not doing anything for me. That's only doing something for somebody else who wants to buy the car on the cheap. So, but if you do feel that, so strongly that I can't even drive this car that I already own, that's on you. That's your decision. But for all these folks out here keying Teslas and this and that and the other, number one, the car has 9 to 12 cameras on it. You're not going to get away with that. Don't do that kind of stuff because it's like all you are doing is ultimately giving Tesla more money because where's the person going to take that car that you've damaged to go get it fixed? The Tesla dealership. Who's going to make the money on that? The Tesla dealership. So that's just kind of dumb to go and damage people's Teslas because you disagree with it. That was a decision that they made before the fact. The other part is that
I ain't let nobody off the hook. If you really, like Stephanie said, if you really feel your life is in danger, get rid of the damn car. You feel bad. You are,
but I mean,
you want to show your disdain, but you ain't that mad.
Well, but also it's not that easy to just get rid of a car. You know what I mean? Not for everybody. It's not that easy to just say I'm taking this back or, and I don't know what and I'm sure at this point resale value is probably in the toilet.
It is dropped out.
So you're not taking it nowhere else but back to Tesla. And I don't know what their policy is about, bringing cars back and whatever. Like I think a lot of people might actually be in a really tough, between a rock and a hard place right now with regard to their Tesla ownership. I mean, I like to your point, Terrance, I don't feel that bad because to Robb's point, Elon Musk ain't never been a good person. You know what I mean? And you bought these cars knowing what was what back 2 years ago. So you're just kind of reaping that karmic benefit now. And it is what it is. It sucks, but it is what it is.
I do wonder if Tesla's shareholders are going to start bringing lawsuits up against the company. And I wonder if Tesla's board is going to say, we need to go holler at our boy right fast. It's like, look, our company is depressed right now, not because of economic conditions. They're depressed because of you. Mm-hmm. So we need to separate ourselves from you because really, what it is for me is that Elon Musk is the primary shareholder of Tesla, and is the CEO of Tesla. And because of those two things, I will never buy a Tesla. There are so many other people. I'm thinking, Stephanie, you're going to say the same thing. I will never buy a Tesla if Elon Musk is running that company. Terrance, you haven't said this, but I would imagine that if you don't rock with Elon Musk, that you ain't going to rock with a company with a car that Elon Musk company makes. There's a lot of people
I wouldn't even accept a free Tesla at this point. Like, unless I could just flip it and sell it and get the money. Like, if you told me I had to accept it and drive it, and that had to be I wouldn't even accept. I literally would not even accept a free Tesla at this point. And you might call that stupid or whatever, but all money ain't good money, and I just wouldn't even accept a free Tesla.
No, I wouldn't call it stupid. Let's just call that you have a set of principles that you stand by, and that's your line.
Yeah, that's it.
So in the same way, I don't have any problem when people go out and buy a Tesla. But if you go out and buy a Tesla today, I have a very, very close friend who had one ordered. And this is before we knew Elon was going to be emperor. This is back when, what's going on in the Fremont plant in California? I don't want that. So that's when he made his decision to actually cancel an order for a car that he was going to get. I think it would have been his third Tesla, and decided to get a Rivian instead. And, so I think a lot of people are just doing those kind of things, but now it is significantly amplified. There are so many people who hate this dude that the company has to, at some point, start to look at how long can we go we are selling 70% fewer Teslas around Europe than we were before all this stuff came out about the CEO of the company. So,
and to your point, it will be the board's responsibility to step up and do something. Like, I don't know, how much control he has over them and what sort of intimidation tactics, but it is the board's responsibility to step up and do something when you have numbers like this as a direct result of your CEO. So we'll see.
So, Tech Life Steph, you stuck this story in here. I'm gonna clap for you right now. You titled this, "I Get It, but it still seems wrong somehow." That is the perfect title, and I'm gonna just stop talking and let you tell folks why you titled this segment, "I Get It, but it still seems wrong somehow."
So there is a company in France that has developed an AI tool that can erase the accents of the people in call centers. So let me find the company's name real quick. I should have wrote it down. The software is developed by a company. Well, there's a company in France that's using this software. The company that built it is called Sanus, and it's a startup based in Palo Alto, California. They do what's called accent translation. And the French company Teleperformance, which is the largest call center corporation in the world, is using this accent translation to remove the accents of their Indian and African call center operators. So, they're doing it, and the software can do it real time. So as you're speaking to this person, they sound like an American, or just someone with a nondescript, English and or American accent, and you can have this sort of back and forth with this person, not knowing that you're speaking to somebody in India or Africa or wherever the case may be. But it says the technology can neutralize the accent of the Indian speaker with zero latency. This creates more intimacy, increases customer satisfaction, and reduces average handling time. It's a win-win for both parties, which I ain't gonna say that it ain't, because I mean, I've been on calls with tech support in other countries, and had to kind of really go back and forth a little bit to understand what was being said and what was being communicated. But somehow the idea that, number one, you might be doing this without people knowing that you're doing it. I think, any sort of AI use needs to be done with informed consent. But number two, like, taking it, like, that's how I talk. Like, what? I can't now. I can't speak the way I speak. You're telling me the way I speak's not good. I don't know. It ain't sitting right with me at all. It just ain't.
Yeah, I don't know if this is a all money ain't good money type of thing, but I mean, let's just call it a buck. A lot of the customer support call centers are in India, right?
Hmm.
And I wonder how the companies of India feel, for example, if they were using this, technology. I wonder how they feel to where it's like, all right, you outsource all of the call center stuff, or the majority, or whatever the number is, to us because it's cheaper, because whatever the financial reasons are, right? But also you want it over in India, but you don't want it over in India. It's like going back to what Stephanie is saying. It's like, do you want us or don't you want us? And then especially with Americans, right? There are, we've all experienced, well, let me not speak for everybody. Stephanie, you mentioned you've had issues. I think it's safe to say that when we when we reach out to customer support, we're already on 8, as far as what we need to get solved, what the questions we have. Please don't take me to 10 when there is some sort of a language barrier. I get that. But still, you have to understand that the reason why this language barrier, the reason why you're talking to this person that isn't American is because the company that you are calling to support about
Wants to
decided
go the cheap
that
route.
Americans doing it, the people you want to talk to, it ain't good enough, it ain't cheap enough, it ain't whatever it is. So the company decided to outsource. Don't be mad at the person on the phone.
Right.
They are just doing their job.
They
But
just doing their job.
We get mad at them. I can't understand you. Look, I work at a company and I have gotten emails from end users who say point blank, I want to talk to an American. And I'm like, well, number one, I can't help you with that because I'm not. So you just want to vent, but you talking to the wrong person because that's above my pay grade. And it's like two, recognize it ain't their fault. It's the company's fault. So if you got a problem with it, you need to talk to the people or send an email or get the people who made that decision, the CEOs, the board members, and let them know. Don't bash the Indian folk or the Philippines or Mexico or
whoever,
South America, wherever these call centers are. Don't get mad at the call center. They trying to get money just like Americans are. You need to talk to the companies, the corporations that made that decision to do it in the first place. And I think once we decide we're going to redirect our anger, then maybe things will change. But I don't know if the AI
wondering if it even, I'm like, is it better to, because, later on in the article, it talks about how they had tried to train these people to lose their access. Like, you doing all of this and now you paying to overlay this AI. How about just hire US based call center employees? Like, it just seems like you're doing too much. And I mean, I guess it probably is still cheaper to, pay these people $1 a day. I don't know what they're paying them, but clearly much less than they would have to pay somebody over here, and they're not paying no health care and all that. I get it. But, the idea of erasing these people's identity in this way just does not seem right to me. I don't know.
Y'all know me. I'm always going to take it to the extreme. So I just looked up codeswitch.ai. It is available to register. Might have to go do something like that. Because and here's how I take it too far. Because if you're going to do this with Asian folks, if you're going to do this with Africans, if you're going to do this with Latinos, when it's going to start happening, I don't like that Southern accent. I need to make you sound like you from Toronto. So even though you from Mississippi, you from Alabama, you from Louisiana, our customers don't
Memphis.
Cincinnati, even Indiana, even
New Orleans.
Our folks do not like talking to people who have these Southern accents. So we're going to run, so we're just going to run these AI filters and want to make everybody who works for us sound like they literally are a newscaster that got their broadcasting certifications from the University of Toronto. Because Toronto, if you are in like Toronto, if you're in parts of Michigan, if you're in parts of Wisconsin, that's like there's no accent. It's just that is what people think Americans sound like. There's no accent. California's the same way, depending on what parts you're in. There's no accent there, and that's what we want folks to sound like. And that's what this software is doing, trying to make people sound like they have no accent. But like I said, I see this coming. It's like, we're going to start applying this to not just Indian call centers and African call centers. We're going to start applying this to, if you are in this particular city, you in Memphis.
Well, I can see them not wanting people to sound too black.
I was going there next.
Yeah. Come on, you know that's what they about to do.
And this is the justification that they're going to give for
too ethnic. God forbid.
They're going to try to do it. And say, well, y'all doing it already, because we all know, we all have mamas that was talking on the phone to somebody and it's like, who is that? Who, mama? How you make your voice sound like that? Because our parents are, even our generation, I think to a lesser extent, but definitely our parents' generation, they would code switch because it made getting by a lot easier than when you would have a different conversation on the phone with white folks and you would.
TV right now, I still code switch a little bit, because if you've ever seen me on any broadcast program, I don't sound nothing like I sound on this podcast. So it definitely is still a thing, and there's levels of, I don't even want to say decorum or professionalism necessarily, but um there are different there's just different standards that you're held to on different platforms. So I definitely do try to infuse a little
Hmm.
personality in there, but obviously, you there are different FCC rules. Like, I can't curse on TV because there are FCC rules against that kind of thing. So in that vein, there's a reason I have to switch, but there's also just some unspoken rules and
Sure.
reasons that I have to switch as well. So code switching ain't went
It's
nowhere.
not
It
going
ain't went
anywhere.
nowhere.
But there are times when I may not say things in a boardroom like, see what had happened was, or let me holler at you right fast, or call somebody kinfolk or something like that. Those things might not happen in a boardroom. I get and understand that. But it's like, if you're going to start doing this with call center accents, I just know that it's going to get so much
Oh, it's
worse.
coming.
It's going to get
It's
so
coming.
much worse to where you're talking. And here's the thing. Would the person on the phone who's actually doing the call, would they know? Would they know that their voice is being changed? Terrance, I think you said that this was instantaneous, right?
No, it is. It's real time
Real
with,
time.
and the company claims that there's zero latency. So that's a good question, because I was thinking about informed consent from the caller's point of view, to know that they were speaking to somebody who had some sort of AI generated something over top of their voice. But that's a great question. Does the call center person operator know that as their voice is going out, there's some sort of software being laid over top of it? Because I think both parties should be informed if you're going to use this type of technology.
I used to live in Columbia, Maryland, right next to DC. A term that is used in DC all the time is the term Bama. I wonder if the AI, if I call somebody Bama, if it would say something like an undistinguished gentleman. Would it get what I'm saying in real time? Because it would be, in my mind, I'm going to try to trip up this AI. I'm going to say some stuff on this
Well, it's
call to
not
try
going
to
to
make it messy.
say something it's not changing what you say. It just changes the way the other person hears what you say.
Okay.
So it's not actually gonna
So the
take
words are the
words
same. It's
and
just taking the
yeah,
accent off
it's
the word.
taken
Okay.
it just takes the accent away altogether. But the words, yeah, it doesn't actually say, oh, you can't say this thing because it's, a colloquialism or whatever, so we're gonna change it to something more palatable. It just takes the accent away from what the call center operator takes their accent away, which is still, it's just like I said, it just don't sit right. It just don't sit right.
Yeah, that was, I get it, but this seems wrong somehow. That was the perfect title for this. So Tech Light Steph, you said it last week. You said you were going to have a spotlight for us this week, and you do. Can you please tell us about Mary Beatrice Davidson Kerner?
I absolutely can. Mary Beatrice Davidson Kenner was a remarkable 20th century inventor who received 5 patents. In spite of enduring racism her entire life, Kenner succeeded in patenting inventions that made everyday life easier. Her inventions include the sanitary belt, a precursor to the maxi pad, a serving tray and pocket that connect to a walker, and a toilet paper holder that ensures the loose end of the paper is within reach. Kenner was born into a family of inventive thinkers on May 7th, 1912, in Monroe, North Carolina. Her father, Sidney Nathaniel Davidson, patented a clothing presser in 1914 that could fit into a suitcase. Her maternal grandfather, Robert Fromberger, invented a tricolor light signal for trains and a stretcher with wheels for ambulances. Kenner's sister, Mildred Davidson Austin Smith, grew up to patent a board game in 1980. As a young child, Kenner was always coming up with creative solutions to problems. At the precocious age of 6, she attempted to invent a self oiling door hinge. Other childhood inventions included putting a sponge at the tip of an umbrella to soak up rainwater and a portable ashtray to attach to a cigarette pack. In 1924, the Davidson family moved to Washington, D.C., and Kenner graduated from Dunbar High School in 1931. She enrolled at Howard University, but subsequently dropped out due to financial constraints. To make ends meet, she held various jobs and became a federal employee during World War II. After the war, Kenner became a professional florist while simultaneously inventing in her free time. In 1951, Kenner married James Jabbo Kenner, and the couple fostered 5 children, eventually adopting one son. Kenner's first patent came in 1957 for the sanitary belt, which was used to hold sanitary napkins in place. This was before adhesive maxi pads and tampons were invented. Although Kenner had invented the sanitary belt years before, she could not afford to file for a patent, and she experienced racism in her quest to obtain a patent. Quote, one day I was contacted by a company that expressed an interest in marketing my idea. I was so jubilant. I saw houses, cars, and everything about to come my way, end quote. Kenner remarked in Laura F. Jeffries' book, Amazing American Inventors of the 20th Century. Quote, sorry to say, when they found out I was Black, their interest dropped, end quote. Kenner continued to invent in spite of obstacles. In 1976, after her sister was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, Kenner patented a walker with an attachable tray and pocket for carrying items. In the 1980s, Kenner invented a toilet paper dispenser with paper that was always reachable and a backwasher that could be mounted to a shower wall. Kenner passed away on January 13th, 2006 in Washington, D.C. at the age of 93. Although she never received awards, fame, or wealth during her lifetime, Kenner's inventions had an enduring impact on everyday life.
Mary Beatrice Davidson Kenner.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing that so many of her inventions are just, why didn't I think of that? I mean, just why they are here. You know what? This is a problem, and I haven't seen anybody else address this. Therefore, I'm going to. That seems like with many of many inventions are that way. But these are just like, well, it's like windshield wipers. It's such a, why did I think of that? It's like,
so obvious. Definitely super obvious, but somebody has to be the one to think of a solution for it, and she thought of plenty of them.
So this is this we just had Saturday. That was, what was it called? International Women's Day this past Saturday. And in this month, the month of March, is International Women's Month.
Women's History Month.
National Women's History Month. So although you won't find anything on a Google Calendar about it, we're going to make sure that we let you know here on the Tech Jawn. So thank you for that, Parlay. So with that, y'all, I do want to let folks know that the weather is changing. It's I think it was in the upper 50s today. It's supposed to get to 71 one day this week. So it's time to start switching out some of these hoodies and maybe go to some t-shirts, maybe the long tees. So I want to let folks know, head over to techjawn.com/shop. You will find our store over there. There's all kind of swag. You can get your baseball caps, keep the sun out your eyes. You can get those long sleeve baseball jersey type shirts with our mask on it. You can get regular t-shirts. You can still get hoodies if you still like to be warm when it's warm outside. Just want to let you know we got all that kind of stuff over there at techjawn.com/shop. So with that being said, Tech Life Steph, tell folks how they can get at you.
You can follow me all around the web at Tech Life Steph, or head to stephaniehumphrey.com and sign up for my newsletter.
And you can find me all over the internet at Brother Tech. That's BROTHATECH.
And I am at Robb Dunewood on all the things. And we're also at the Tech Jawn, the Tech JAWN on all the things. So come holler at us however you holler. And until we meet again in a week's time, peace.